of the first resurrection of children of the world to come. This is a time for you to rejoice, to have happiness within you, because you know that everything that is happening on this earth is moving in conjunction with the plan of the Almighty. No matter what man has planned, no matter what the rulers of the darkness of this world have gotten together and decided that they're going to do, they're all fools, because they have not considered that there's a greater planner than them that watches their every movement. And not their movements only, but he has a vested interest in the movements and the welfare of his people. If you would you turn with me in your Bibles to the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 59. He says, and he saw that there was no man. Let me repeat what Isaiah the prophet says. He says, and he saw that there was no man. Are you listening to me now? You see, people put their confidence, even Christian people, in a man that they feel is going to be the one that's going to make their lives better and lead them to a place of peace and prosperity and comfort. But the prophet Isaiah says, and he saw that there was no man. Let me tell you something. The Almighty, we know he works through men. We know he works through women. But we must also understand that he always has operated in a certain way, in a certain fashion. And I'm excited about this. This brings joy to my heart and happiness to my soul. You see, the Almighty All Shaddai has always allowed circumstances to present themselves before his people. Listen, I'm not talking about the children of this world now. I'm talking about the children of the world to come. We are here on this earth. There are wheat that is sown among the tares on this earth right now. There are lights that are shining in the darkness right now. And the Almighty always has his eyes and his thoughts upon his children and upon his people. Are you listening to me? He's always, since the ancient times, allowed circumstances and situations to surround his people in such a way that when they looked, they saw no deliverer. That when they looked, they saw nothing before their natural eyes that appeared to be coming to help them. Oh, help me, help me. He says, and he saw that there was no man and wondered that there was no intercessor. He says that the Almighty looked and he says to his people, there's no man out here for you. There's no intercessor for you. Yet you're in a predicament. Yet you're in a bad situation. He says, therefore his arm brought forth salvation unto him, and his righteousness it sustained him. You know, the Almighty loves these situations because these are the times when he tries his people. These are the times when he looks down from out of the Shama to find out what goes on beneath the sun with his people. What is the state of their minds? Do they have faith? Do they truly believe in me? Are you listening to me? He's always going to create circumstances and situations where you're going to have to look to him for your help. He says, for he put on righteousness as a breastplate and an helmet of salvation upon his head. And he put on the garment of vengeance for clothing. Oh, help me. You know what? I want you to just think about that for a moment. The rulers of this world, the rulers of darkness, they are fools, unbelievers, and have said in their heart, there is no Elohim. It is only us, and we rule as we please. They're going to find out they have been very, very wrong. The Most High is always standing in the heights from the very beginning, looking down from the heavenly places. And his Malachim have always been there, watching everything that's going on under the sun according to the sons of men. Are you listening to me? Don't you believe for one moment, and I'm going to say this boldly, don't you believe for one moment that the rulers of this world could take their nuclear weapons right now and make a decision to destroy this earth? That's a fairy tale and it's a fantasy, and they know they can't do it. Don't you know that the moment that thought came into the minds of these men that are rulers of this world, they would be shut down as they have been in the past? Oh yeah, they call those things, oh yeah, the UFOs that appeared at their nuclear test sites. These things have always been here on the earth. Read the book of Enoch from the ancient of times. He spoke of the chariots of heaven that move from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. Are you listening to me? And he described them as silver discs. The ancient men saw what we call today the UFOs. They've always been here. The watchers have always been here. Do you think this technology that we have came from man's mind? Do you think that the heavenly places is a primitive place? Come on, people, wake up. They're fooling you. They haven't destroyed the world because they can't destroy the world. Their thoughts are known and heard by heaven. They have been shut down before in the past. Don't you know that the nuclear test sites all over this world have been shut down? Don't you know that the Almighty has already told them, don't you try it, fool? This is my earth. I made this cosmos, and you can't destroy it. They know it. That's why they got this thing now that they want to leak out to tell you that UFOs are real. No, we're moving toward the end, and people are seeing the chariots of heaven moving back and forth more and more. They're watching man, aren't they? Because we're moving toward the climax of this thing. Somebody out here better hear me. We as children of light should not be worried about anything. Nothing happens unless the Almighty allows it. And the rulers of darkness, they know it. They're not as powerful as they make you believe. They're nothing but the Wizard of Oz, the men behind the curtain. They make you believe they have all this power, but they don't. It says in verse 17, for he put on righteousness as a breastplate and a helmet of salvation upon his head. And he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing. You see, he's an avenger of his people. And was clad with zeal as a cloak. That zeal is talking about his jealousy. He declares that I am a jealous Elohim. Don't you know he's jealous over his people, over his creation? He's watching, and they know he's watching. According to their deeds, listen to what he says here. According to their deeds, accordingly, he will repay fury to his adversaries. Let me tell you something. We don't have nothing to worry about. What are you scared of? What you worried about? The book tells you very clearly the Elohim that we serve is real. And in the season of his choosing, he moves in behalf of his people. Don't get it twisted. He says, fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense. So shall they fear the name of YaHUaH from the west, and his esteem from the rising of the sun. It says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Ruach of YaHUaH will lift up a standard against him. Ooh, that's my message to all of the children of light today. The standard has been raised. Are you listening to me? When the enemy comes in like a flood, when you feel that you're surrounded by the wicked, when evil is in on every side and they begin to move among themselves to launch their plans, the scriptures tells us that the Almighty lifts up a standard. That standard is what? We call it a flag, a sign, a pole. It is the very symbol of the sovereignty of the Almighty. You know, when nations put up flags down there saying, this land, this country is my territory. I have rulership here. And you must respect this, because if you violate, we will go to war. That's why countries have flags. They are symbols of sovereignty, symbols of power, symbols of authority, symbols of ownership and rulership over certain regions. But I'm here today to tell you that the Almighty YaHUaH Elohim and his word, who is his son, who is Yah. They are the sovereign over the whole cosmos, of everything on the earth and everything in the heavens above. Are you listening to me? And they lay down their banner anywhere that exists. There is no place where their sovereign power and authority is not there. They are the ones who raise the standard over all nations and all kingdoms. I don't care what your country is, you can put your flag up. But when the Almighty steps down with his judgments, it is only his banner, it is only his flag, it is only his authority that will reign supreme and will blow in the winds of the world. You better hear me. All other banners and flags will fall. Only the banner and the flag of the Almighty will be sitting and raised up over humanity. You better hear me now. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 49. Let's stay with Isaiah. Isaiah 49 and 22. We're going to go from 22 to 26, and this is what it says. Thus saith YaHUaH Elohim, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles, speaking of the nations, talking about everybody now. Are you listening to me? He's looking down and he's looking out over all the countries, all of the nations of the world. Everybody who thinks they're somebody, everybody who thinks they're mighty, everybody who thinks they're powerful, everybody who thinks that they're strong. He's got a message for you. He says, thus saith YaHUaH Elohim, behold, I will lift up mine hand to the nations and set up my standard to the people. Are you listening to me? If you notice, he said, I'm talking to every nation now. I'm talking to every kingdom now. He's saying, do you hear me, China? Do you hear me, Russia? Do you hear me, England? Do you hear me, Afghanistan? Do you hear me, India? Do you hear me, Iran, Iraq? Do you hear me, Africa? He's saying, let me tell you something. I don't care who the nation is. He's saying, I'm reaching out my hand to all of you. And I'm lifting up my standard. I'm letting you know that I am the sovereign authority over everything. And all of you need to just stand down. Because the king is on the hill. He said, thus saith YaHUaH Elohim, behold, I will lift up mine hand to the Gentiles of the nations, and set up my standard to the people. They shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth. Look up the dust of thy feet. Thou shalt know that I am YaHUaH, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. Let me tell you something. And then, of course, you know, you got all